Mistakes in A-level physics exams this year could seriously impact students' chances of securing places at university physics programs, a claim that's sparking concern among educators and experts. But here's where it gets controversial. While some exam boards acknowledge errors, there's debate about whether the resulting grade adjustments sufficiently protect students' futures. And this is the part most people miss: how these exam issues might disproportionately affect those already facing barriers. Tom Grenier, chief executive of the Institute of Physics, IOP, has taken the unusual step of directly addressing the heads of physics departments at UK universities. He urges them to consider these exceptional circumstances when making admissions decisions, especially for students whose physics grades appear unexpectedly low or are outliers compared to other subject results. This call comes after significant errors were found in the A-level Physics A Papers 1 and 2 administered by the OCR exam board. While some corrections were made before the exams in June, a further mistake in Paper 2 was only discovered post-exam, leaving affected students confused and stuck during the test. Adding fuel to the fire, the competitor exam board, AQA, had its own issue, not with outright errors, but with overly complex wording in Paper 2, which caused many students to struggle under time pressure and hampered their ability to clearly answer questions. A quick survey conducted by the IOP, who also publish Physics World, revealed that 41% of physics teachers were dissatisfied with the OCR papers, and over half believed the exam experience was negative for their students. Even more telling, 2/3 of teachers felt that AQA's physics exam created a challenging environment. For context, A-levels are typically taken by 18-year-olds across England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and the results heavily influence university admissions. Grenier emphasizes that the IOP is maintaining open discussions with exam boards to ensure assessments remain fair and rigorous while supporting students. However, he's worried the usual grade boundary adjustments might not fully address the performance impact caused by these mistakes, especially for individuals hit hardest on the OCR papers. In response, an OCR spokesperson apologized to those affected, assuring that they reviewed student performance across all physics exams and took necessary steps to mitigate the error's effects. They reaffirmed the confidence of the 13,000 students who sat OCR A-level physics this year in their results. Moreover, OCR has pledged to improve their quality assurance measures to avoid repeating such problems and has welcomed dialogue with the Institute of Physics to support physics education. Meanwhile, AQA, with nearly 23,500 physics candidates this year, defended their exam papers as error-free and more accessible than last year. They noted that universities don't need to make special exceptions for AQA physics grades during admissions, and expressed ongoing commitment to listening to feedback, including from the IOP, to enhance future assessments and student experiences. But the personal impact on students has been profound. The IOP strongly advocates for a fair chance in university admissions, highlighting how exam errors and confusing contexts exacerbate difficulties for students already on widening participation routes, often those facing systemic educational disadvantages. This means these exam issues risk hiding the true talents of many young physicists. Last year, the IOP had already raised concerns about inaccessible language and contexts in AQA physics exams, only to see similar problems resurface despite promises to improve. Helen Sinclair, head of physics at Wimbledon High School, describes the inconsistent quality of recent A-level papers as having far-reaching consequences for students considering physics at university. She points out that while challenges in exams are necessary, better structure and clearer guidance within questions could reduce stress and help students show their full capabilities. Abby Hope, physics head at Stokesley School, is equally worried. Labeling the errors this year unacceptable, she argues OCR lets students down and highlights how tough AQA papers have sometimes caused students to feel defeated, even bringing some to tears. Hope stresses the importance of accessible exams with appropriate grade boundaries to foster confidence, rather than leaving students feeling they underperformed, an outcome she fears could deter young people from pursuing physics. These sentiments are reinforced by Rachel Houchin from Royal Grammar School, Newcastle, who views such recurring public mistakes as damaging the reputation of physics education in the UK. She warns that if physics is perceived as unreliable or inaccessible, it risks becoming a subject mainly available in selective or independent schools, instead of thriving broadly across mainstream education. Hari Rentala, Associate Director of Education and Workforce at the IOP, notes that these issues may unfortunately feed into the stereotype that physics is an inherently difficult subject. While OCR has tried to manage the situation, Rentala cautions that this provides little comfort to students who endured confusing tests and anxiety during and after exams. He adds that once again, AQA is criticized for questions that were too demanding. At least grade boundaries were lowered to help offset these challenges for students receiving their results. Here's a twist in the tale. Despite these exam problems, physics participation in A-levels is on the rise, with about 45,000 students enrolling across the UK, up 4.3% from last year and marking the highest numbers in 25 years. Physical sciences have climbed to the sixth most popular A-level subject, with girls making up roughly a quarter of candidates. In Scotland, entries also grew at both National 5 and higher levels. Grenier celebrates this momentum and stresses the importance of keeping physics welcoming to all, especially girls, by dismantling lingering stereotypes that discourage many young people. He believes that physics can open doors to exciting careers in science and innovation, but only if inclusive efforts continue. However, the picture is bleaker at the younger school levels. A new IOP report reveals a severe shortage of physics teachers in English state schools, with more than 500,000 GCSE students starting the new academic year without access to specialist physics educators. About a quarter of state schools have no dedicated physics teacher at all, putting over 12,000 students at risk of missing out on A-level physics entirely. The IOP urges the UK government to invest £120 million over the next decade to tackle this shortage through better teacher retention, recruitment, and retraining initiatives. So what do you think? Should exam boards be held more accountable when errors affect student futures? Could lowering grade boundaries truly solve the problem? Or do we need deeper reforms to exam design and teacher support? Are these challenges fair warnings about physics education's future, or overblown concerns? Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences below. Let's get the conversation started.